I'm not someone who does very well listening to content to learn. So if I had to go to college during COVID, I would have failed because I just wouldn't have been able to do it. So I tried listening to Becker. I didn't like any of them. Sorry, Becker. And I also waited.
Hey, Cristina, how are you?
Hi, Rosie. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being on my podcast today.
Of course. Thanks for having me. The week before we all shut down for 2 weeks, right?
Perfect timing.
Yes.
So we have Cristina is as the tax practice leader at BDO on our podcast today, and we're going to discuss a lot about her CPA journey from where she started at college to where she is right now. So Cristina, before we go deeper in your career, can you introduce a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Like she said, my name's Cristina Hale. I currently reside in Tampa, Florida. I have been here for about 5.5 years. I was born in Maine. I have lived lots of different places. I've moved around a lot in my life before college, and I've also moved around a lot in my professional life. I run our tax practice here, so I am a glorified tax nerd. And in my free time, I'm big on fitness, love being outdoors, love spending time with my dogs, love to travel, and I particularly like being underwater. So my husband and I dive. So we do a lot of diving around the world.
It's interesting that I'm supposed to ask about your career, but the diving sounds more interesting now. Like, have you ever been in Hawaii to dive in Hawaii?
I've actually not dove in Hawaii. I got certified to dive in the Maldives, which highly recommend. Absolutely beautiful. You have to be very comfortable with sharks because a lot of shark sightings, but it is the only place that I can go that is completely peaceful, that nobody can talk to me. So I love it. Great.
That's so true. All right, let's go back to your career.
Okay.
Let's go from the very beginning when you started in college. I'm just curious, why did you decide to go with the accounting major?
Okay, so we're going to go back before that. So I decided to be an accountant when I was 10, which I know is very, very strange. My mom was taking business classes at the local community college, and I hurt myself doing gymnastics one day, and I couldn't go to school, but I was 10, so I couldn't stay home alone. So I went to college with her, and I sat through her accounting class, and I was sold. I loved it. I started doing her homework, not for her, but alongside of her. And I never changed my mind after that.
Wow, 10 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really amazing that you are still consistent even after that, because at 10, I thought I would be a doctor. And then after that, I was like, oh, no, I don't like blood. It's not for me. That's why I decided to go with accounting.
Yep. So that was just always. I will say that when I got to college and started taking classes, I probably picked tax. I think I always knew that too. I don't think any part of me ever wanted to be an auditor, and I did fail the audit CPA twice. So confirmed I should not be an auditor. I got on the third try, but I just decided that it was tax. And then I had my internship lined up. And so at this point I'm 21, so 11 years of wanting to do this one thing. And I remember the first day of my internship thinking, God, I really hope I like this, because what if I put all my eggs in this basket for so long and then I don't like it? But as it turned out, I loved it. It is so for me. I will January 5th makes 21 years full-time in public accounting. So I was thinking about this earlier. It is the age of my stepson. So his entire life I have been practicing tax. But I still love it just as much today as I did at the very beginning. So I picked the right thing.
Well, I say that you picked the right thing, and you are very smart about audit, because I failed audit twice as well, and I passed it in the third time. But I was still thinking that no, audit was for me. And I started in audit for a year, and I was like, nope, it's not for me. And then I moved to tax. So that's a very smart move that you saved all that time, figured out, and then identified that you should go with tax at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. But it's great when you can see, because sometimes people don't know. I mean, I think that's probably the hardest thing when our interns come in, is that sometimes they have never taken a tax or audit class, or maybe they've only taken one. So I don't know, unless they're like me and just new, you don't always really know. So we have some people that do one of each. Most people usually pick tax, but we did have one person who went to audit. So which is totally fine, but that's the best thing about working at a big firm that has a lot of opportunities, because if you don't like one thing, then you can go try another thing.
Yeah, I'm just curious that when you study accounting in college, did your mom recommend you to be a CPA, or you just figured out that CPA is the role that you wanted to be?
She wasn't taking it to become, she was just, I don't even remember. She was like an art major, and I think she had to take some business classes. I don't really remember the story, but she never, I think she took like the one class and that was it. For me, I was always going to get a CPA. I was always going to start a Big Four. Like, I feel like I just like always knew that. But I'm the youngest of, my dad has 10 kids. My mom only has 3, but I'm the baby of the whole family. And I'm was the only person that went to college. My niece just started her freshman year 4 months ago. So now we have number 2 in college. But I didn't have anyone who had done it, who was a professional. I didn't have any other people in my family that had gone that route. But I don't know. I guess I ran with it, learned everything there was to do about it. I knew I wanted to get my bachelor's. I knew I wanted to get my master's in tax. The CPA was just a no-brainer, and here I am.
I love I feel like because you are the first, I would say the first one who have been in the college, so you had to figure out a lot by yourself, and that make you stronger than everyone else that who like, oh, I can ask my mom, my dad, or my siblings. So you said you failed audit twice. How about other sections? Did you have any issue passing other sections for the CPA exam?
So I'm not someone who does very well listening to content to learn. So if I had to go to college during COVID, I would have failed because I just like wouldn't have been able to do it. So I tried listening to Becker. I couldn't. I didn't like any of them. Sorry, Becker. And so I also waited. Don't do what I did. So I did 5 years of school in 4 and worked 2 jobs at the same time, including I had started my career full time while getting my master's. I just was desperate to be done with school and doing what I wanted to do and making money. So I like to see how much I can do and still succeed. Which I'm capable of doing quite a bit as it turns out. Not for everybody. That does not work out for everybody. So I finished my master's and was already full-time working, made senior very early. And once you make senior, as you know, it is a lot. That's probably, everybody would agree, the hardest role in public accounting. So I was just working crazy. And then I agreed to go work in DC at this client for a couple of months because I'm very open to new experiences. And so I had signed up for FAR was my first exam. And I just like didn't have a lot of time to study. And I had never taken a practice test. And I thought, well, I'm just going to wing it and go see what it's like, because then at least I will have to go sit and take the test and then I will know. So I failed FAR. I did get a 71, so I was close. And then I passed reg, passed BEC. I don't know which order I took, audit and then FAR again, but I passed FAR on the second time, and then audit I failed with the same score twice. So I got a 71, then I got another 71. And then I think I ended up with an 86. I think it ended up being my highest score of any of the exams on the third try. So it finally came together. But I was not trying to win any awards. I was trying to be done with a CPA. But it was, so for me, I was in my third year as senior, or second year as senior. I was up for manager. I had just moved officially to DC. And I was trying to do all of this at the same time while working crazy hours as a senior. But they basically said, you're not getting promoted to manager unless you get your last exams done. So I made it happen. And then I shut the books and I have not studied for anything else ever again.
I remember that. Wow. Right after I passed all 4 sections, I always tell people that I would do anything, everything to never, ever, ever have to take these sections again in my life.
100%. It was such a relief. I always tell people, I was like, there's no better feeling when you get that last pass and you are done. No better feeling, because it is not easy. It is not easy for the brightest people, the most successful people. Like, I feel like Rosey and I have done fairly well in our careers. And here we are telling you all we both failed audit twice. So,
and and yes, I got audit score as the highest score among all four sections as well because I took it 3 times.
yep, yep.
I still remember I was able to even write down the whole report by myself because I was like, there's no way I'm going to fail the third time. I'm going to do everything to pass it no matter what. So I think I got it like 89 or 90, like pretty high. I was
Very nice. Well, that was so I don't think they do this anymore, but when you before, however many years ago, when you failed, you would get a score report that would show you where you did well and where you did poorly. So 71 the first time, 71 the second time, they were exactly the opposites. Everything I had done well on the first time, I had done bad in, and everything I had done bad in, I had done well in. So I think on the third try, I just did well in all of it.
That's
Well,
good.
well enough. Well enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good enough. All you need is just above 75 to pass.
Yep. But that's what I tell. So to any of you listening, don't wait. Don't do what I did. I will also say that firms, when I was getting my CPA, were not offering CPA bonuses. I am very money motivated. I would have 100% done it if there was money involved, but there wasn't. For me, it was, do you want to get promoted? Get the CPA. So now when our younger folks come in out of school, a lot of them are done before they even start, and some of them get it like right when they start. So I'm huge on that. There was so much of the exam that was from my undergrad, and so to go undergrad, masters, and then be working for 4 years before I got it, the things that I probably knew very well right after I graduated, I had to really dive back into. So yes, don't wait, just get it done, and then you have it, and then all you have to do is your CPE every year and make sure you keep your license up and running. But I'll probably never give it up now because it was so hard to get.
It is so hard. And I'm very impressed that you took the last section when you were like third year senior or fourth year senior, and then you moved to Washington. Like, moving needs a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you do that? How did you manage all that time? Because we have only 24 hours per week, per day, and then you have to do all those things. Work will be busy, study needs a lot of time, and then moving needs a lot of energy and time.
I just finally, again, I really wanted to get promoted. So I knew I had to buckle down and that I didn't have any more time left to mess around. So, like I said, not good with learning by hearing. So I just took the book and read it from start to finish and then turned it around and started reading it again. I really only crammed, we'll call it, for a couple of days each time. I didn't start studying and have a month or 2 month long lead up where I did very regimented. I really took probably 4 days each time and only studied for 4 days and then went and sat for the exam. So I don't know that that is the best way to do it for a lot of people, but I don't do well sitting still. So that was like the only way I could make myself like, okay, you have a couple of days, just sit on the couch. You don't have anyone over. I had to say no to a lot of things, which that was hard too, because by then you have an established life and friends and career and commitments. But I just said, okay, I'm just doing it and getting it done. And I'm like trying to remember that year. That was such a crazy year. The other thing that happened that year that was unfortunate was when I was in Miami at PwC, they had these like 3-day trainings that they were making all the seniors take. It was like individual, partnership, international, state and local. And Miami told me they were optional. So I didn't take them. And then I got to DC and they were like, oh, these aren't optional. You have to take these if you want to get promoted. So not only was I trying to study for the CPA, I was having to fly around the country to take these 3-day trainings that I thought weren't required. So it was a lot, but like I said, I do really well. I think I thrive in the environment of a lot of things that have to get done, all competing priorities at the same time. So I'm like a go, 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 or a sit on the beach. I don't have a middle. I don't really have a middle ground.
It's funny you mentioned middle ground because I have a lot of energy. And so my husband like, can you find the middle, babe? Because you either have a lot of energy or you have no energy at all.
Yep. Yep.
So I feel you.
Yep. It's I guess it's our brains. That's why I say I was like wired 100% for this profession, but when I take time off for PTO, unless there are crazy client things happening that I have to deal with, but I try and work my vacations around when that's not likely to happen. When I am off, I am off. Like I don't want to at that point I don't want to do anything. I want to sit and read a book. I want to go diving. I want to sit at a beach bar. Like I want to do nothing. So yes, I have two speeds. All
Yeah,
or nothing.
make it fun, right? Make it more interesting. You
Hmm.
people
Yep.
people just think that we are as accountant or as CPA is just so boring, but like not that boring.
I don't agree with that at all.
I
I
know,
think
right? I
I
know.
think
I
I think that's a very old thought about accountants. Like I meet people, and I'm sure you do too, because you're obviously very outgoing, that say, well, you're in tax, but you have a personality. I'm like, what do you think I do all day? Like sit in a dark room and literally punch on my calculator. I'm like, I'm with people all the time. My people at the office, my clients, I'm out in the market meeting new people. I'm doing community service, sitting on boards. Like it is all about people and connections. And I do feel like clients, particularly, like having CPAs that are interesting to talk to, because I think maybe that's not always been the case. So I feel like that's actually a plus that we have personalities.
Oh yeah, that's a huge plus. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
We have some construction in the house, so excuse me if there are some
no
noise.
worries. At least it's yours and not mine.
So it seems like right after college, you mentioned that you just want to work at Big Four. So you started KPMG for like about 2 years at KPMG. So can you share some experience why you just want to focus on Big Four and then you go with KPMG instead of going with a mid-sized firm or smaller size?
Like I said, it's hard to remember now because it's been a long time. I felt like I definitely wanted to. I interviewed with some mid-tier firms. I think I remember thinking, why not start at Big Four in my mind? And maybe that was like my classes. Maybe that was the professors I was around. I'm not really entirely sure. I just always wanted to do that. I also, just side note, have always had this thing where I try and do everything better and faster than everybody else just to say that I could. So again, I think like I just was going to do that. So, it's very hard to decide where you want to go. There are so many great firms. There's also, I'm sure and others are aware of this if they've ever moved around. Every firm and every office could be very different. Like your experience could be night and day at the same firm in two different locations. So I was very much looking for the people that it felt like I fit the best with. So KPMG had a great presence on campus. I went to the University of Miami, who just won their first playoff game on Saturday. So yay, Canes. And KPMG, when they came to our school or they had us at their office through Beta Alpha Psi or other accounting programs, I just felt very connected to the people. I just felt like that's where I fit. So I interviewed at three of the Big Four. I did not interview with PwC, which is interesting because that's where I spent 14 years of my career. But the person they sent for a recruiter was kind of boring. And it was like one person who was like ready to retire. And so when I started working there, I told them, I said, you guys got to fix your recruiting program because I didn't even apply here. I had no interest in coming to work here. Anyway, so I picked KPMG. I did my internship there in the summer of 2004. And then I had been waitressing in college to pay the bills. And I did not want to go back to that. So I said, can I extend my internship? And like, how long would you keep me? So I think they ended up keeping me till October 15th. And then instead of starting the next June, I started in January of 2005. So I took like a month and a half off, or it was the last time I ever had any time off in my life. And it was great. I loved it. The Miami office for KPMG was very small. So I think it was like Big Four, but didn't feel like it would have if I had started in a New York or a Boston or an LA. Great experience. Like I said, started full-time in January of 2005. And then a lot of people left for whatever reason. One person left, another person left, another person left. And I started to feel like because I was going to go there and stay there forever. That was going to have one job, one career. That was going to be it. And I started to feel like I was the only one there a lot, and I was doing an insane amount of work with not a lot of supervision. I learned a lot. So no regrets, because they had me doing things that probably most 6 months associates don't get to do. So for me, I'm glad that that's kind of the way it started, but I started to kind of look at like, well, what's next? Who's coming to work here? Who do I have supporting me? And I just felt like it wasn't going to be the best for my career growth to stay. So there was a couple of us kind of in the same boat, and one of them jumped ship first to PwC. And she said, look, I like you. We're friends. I'm not going to tell you that the grass is greener if it's not. She's like, I've had a really good experience. She was there, I think, about 6 months. And then there was three of us, but one ended up staying back. Two of us ended up moving over to PwC. And then I ended up there for 14 years. That's where I made partner. So the place where I didn't even apply to out of college is the place where I spent the majority of my career. And then after that, and we can talk more details if you want to hear more about what that path looked like. But then I ended up at BDO about 5.5 years ago. And I feel like I landed kind of maybe where I belong. And I think I actually like small firm better than big firm, because I feel like I can make more of an impact at a smaller firm than in a larger firm. But it took a long time for me to figure that out. So I don't want to say that I wish that I had done anything differently, because everything works out exactly how it's supposed to. And I'm super, super glad and thankful for all those experiences, but I wouldn't go back to Big Four now. I think it's just not, I don't think my values align there, and it's so big, like that's the other thing too. I think if you start there, especially in a big office, I ended my PwC career in Boston, you maybe get pigeonholed into one thing, whereas I think the best CPAs are the ones that have seen a lot of different things, so I obviously have a specialty at this point, but I have seen so many different things in my time that I can have intelligent conversation with clients that maybe want to add something to their structure, or maybe want to do something different, or I know the buzzwords that mean I need to go consult an expert, because I know that means something important needs to happen. Whereas if you only ever do just this, you're really good at just this, but most clients aren't just doing one thing. Lots of clients have complicated structures and diversify. And so I feel like it's good to get that really well-rounded experience, which I think you get more of at a smaller firm.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people consider, like, should I go to big firms or should I go to mid-size or smaller firms? It depends on how much you want to explore. You want to be really good at one niche, or you want to be more rounded if you go to smaller size. So I'm glad that you bring that point up, because I know a lot of people consider that point when they make decision as well. I want to focus on PwC, because you was a PwC for 14 years, and you move around a lot in different locations when you were in PwC. So you started PwC as a tax senior.
Yep.
And then you moved to tax manager. We did mention that you passed the CPA exam, and then you moved to another state and to Washington. So now my question for you is that from tax senior to tax manager, if you still remember, because it seems like a long time ago, if you still remember, from tax senior to tax manager, what did you think at that time that was the most challenging moment for you?
Ooh, well, finishing the CPA and all of that was such a relief that I could just focus on work. But now you're a manager. So like I said at the beginning, I think we'd all agree senior is the hardest role in public accounting. You're learning to juggle helping your associates, reporting to different managers. I had lived in DC for about, I think, a year before I got promoted to manager. That was also around 2008, where for your time maybe in the workforce, but when the economy tanked, a lot of people were getting let go. I think we were all a little bit nervous. So I think that was the first and only year I didn't get a raise, but we were so thankful that we still had jobs that we didn't care that we didn't get raises. But it was this kind of like, okay, you're responsible now, and there isn't somebody above you. I mean, obviously I didn't have a lot of people above me between when I was a manager. I feel like it was me and the partner, and she was hands off when needed to be. So she knew that I would go to her if I needed her, but I kind of liked that. I liked the responsibility. I liked always being able to step up instead of being pushed down because, like I said, I think I just thrive in that environment and I wanted to be able to prove that I could do it. But and I was working on a client that had a lot of interesting things going on that I had never seen before. So largely my experience has been in real estate and in partnerships. This client was a real estate client that had a lot of corporations, including a consolidated C Corp structure. So that for me was like learning how to do that. And then they did tax provisions for all of their single corps and for the consolidated. So like for a person that's done real estate and partnerships to know provisions is very odd. And I didn't know what I was doing at first, to be fair. I was learning. And then they decided that they were going to convert from GAAP to IFRS. And so we're like trying to figure out like, what does that even mean? What does that look like? How does that work in the software? So I very, very distinctly remember many late nights sitting in my office in McLean, Virginia with my team. Must have been around Easter because eating Easter candy and just, troubleshooting and trying to figure all this stuff out. And I also remember the first time Deloitte was the auditor, came back and asked for a rate rec. And I was like, I don't know what that is. So, you're like, does anyone know what a rate rec is? How do you do a rate rec? And the very first pass at it, they were like, no, this is not anything close. And so that too, very humbling to not know what I was doing, but having to do it and figure it out. You will never forget that stuff. Like if somebody tells you how to do something, you may remember some of it. Maybe you remember all of it. You'll remember some of it. If you have to figure it out yourself, you will remember it for the rest of your career. So like I said, like I can literally picture myself exactly where the office was, sitting there with my team trying to figure it out. But it was great. I loved having being able to work with the client and starting to get to travel a little bit. We'd go to New York and have like these annual meetings where everyone would come together. And so I feel like that was an exciting time in my career.
I agree with you about the point you mentioned that if you figure that out by yourself, oh God, it stuck with you forever. Even if you want to forget, it's still there.
Mm-hmm. You'll remember it forever. Yep.
Yep, forever.